Richard Gere has done a lot more in his work than just act. It has also been about how he has changed spiritually and socially. But a new health problem has made his fans worry about his future. Do you know what Richard Gere's life is like when he's not in the light? This video tells the story of a star who faced many problems to become a worldwide star and road to fame. Richard Tiffany Gere was born in Philadelphia on August 31, 1949. He was raised in a Methodist home. His father, Homer George Gere, worked as an insurance agent for Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company, and his mother, Doris Anna Tiffany, was a housekeeper. Richard was the second of 5 kids. His parents both came from a long line of historians. Among their relatives were famous Mayflower pilgrims, like William Brewster and Francis Cook. The Gere family is now a part of American history. Richard was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. He was talented in many areas from a very young age. While he was at North Syracuse Central High School, he stood out for both his athleticism and his singing skills. Richard loved gymnastics, played the trumpet, and did very well in sports. Sports in particular. Because of this, he got a gymnastics grant to go to college at the University of Massachusetts Amherst in 1967. Even though Richard had the chance to become a professional athlete, he chose to follow his love for the arts. Following 2 years of college, he made the choice to quit in order to become an actor, an important choice that changed the course of his life. Richard Gere's first steps in the business were on Broadway in well-known shows. Richard Gere started performing on stage at the Seattle Repertory Theater in 1969. He went on to perform at the Provincetown Theater in Cape Cod and Broadway's Ritz Theater in the following years. His early years on stage helped him learn about professional theater and develop his own unique acting style. In the early 1970s, Gere's stage career continued to grow when he played Danny Zuko in the London production of Grease. This part would become famous in the entertainment business. Richard was known for more than just funny shows, though. In 1979, as a gay character in the Broadway play Bent, he played the part. This amazing performance earned him a Theatre World Award and proved that he is a versatile actor who isn't afraid to play tough or unusual parts. There were some rough patches in Richard Gere's early days in the movie business. In 1974, he was in the movie The Lords of Flatbush, but soon after, another character took his place. And while this shocked Gere, it taught him something very useful about his job. He didn't give up. Instead, he kept looking for new chances in the 1977 movie Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which starred Diane Keaton. Even though the movie wasn't a big hit, Richard got noticed for this part, which led to bigger roles in the future. The movie Days of Heaven, which was made by Terrence Malick, came out in 1978. This was a big turning point in Gere's career. His powerful emotional part helped him stand out in the movie business. The hit movie Days of Heaven set the stage for Richard Gere's successful movie career, which put him among the biggest stars in Hollywood. Richard Gere's career took off like a rocket. Because of his part in American Gigolo, 1980, he became a big screen star. The movie not only took him to new heights, but it also showed off his charming love appeal, making him one of the sex icons of the decade. Soon after, in 1982, Richard Gere played the lead role in An Officer and a Gentleman, a love story set during the war. It became clear to everyone that he was a real star after seeing this movie. An Officer and a Gentleman not only got a lot of attention, but it also made almost $130 million, was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, and set Gere up for a successful career in Hollywood that would lead to him becoming a star. The 1980s were a big year for Richard Gere's career. The lead part in the movie American Gigolo stood out. It was a big deal because he became a star in the part, and the movie made a fuss because it was one of the first in Hollywood to show men naked in sexual positions. This picture made Gere more well known as a sex icon, but he didn't like the title. So much so that Gere threatened to sue the host of a UK TV show when she called him a sex symbol. Gere has always said that he only wanted to be known for his acting skills and never wanted his image to be linked to a gender name. But American Gigolo not only helped his business, it also gave him new problems to solve. He kept looking for different kinds of parts, not just ones that would make him look good. The truth is that Gere went on to be in many other great movies, such as the romantic action movie An Officer and A Gentleman, 1982. The movie did well at the box office, earning more than $130 million. It also helped Gere prove his acting skills, as Zack, a tough soldier who faces problems in love and life. With this part, Gere not only won over the audience, but also got a lot of praise from critics, which solidified his place in Hollywood. Pretty Woman, which came out in 1990, was the best movie Gere ever did. At first, no one thought that Pretty Woman would become a worldwide hit. But Richard Gere and Julia Roberts had great chemistry together, and their performance made the movie one of the most successful of all time. The movie made $463 million around the world, which is more than 30 times its $14 million budget. Was a big moment in Gere's career and made him one of the biggest movie stars of the 1990s. Gere said that he was shocked by how much people liked the movie and wondered how a small movie could have such a big effect on the world. But Gere wasn't the type to just bask in the glory of fame. Even though he became a big star in Hollywood, he always said that being serious and professional in his acting job was important. "I never wanted to be famous, especially as a sex symbol," he said. "But if you're successful, it's going to happen." This showed in how he prepared for parts, like how he trained for months to dance for the 2002 movie Chicago, which won him his first Golden Globe. During the 1990s, he kept up his reputation as an actor who could do a lot of different parts and wasn't afraid to try new ones. He mostly worked on love comedies, but he also did some more serious movies, like Summersby, 1993, a romantic war movie, and Primal Fear, 1996, a crime drama with great acting by Edward Norton. Gere made an unexpected choice after a string of huge wins. He stayed out of the Hollywood press. This choice was not a departure, it was a choice. Gere said, "I don't want to be the center of attention. People shouldn't look at me all the time. I think I need to take a break and work on more important things." It was this choice that helped him become a picky actor who would only take on parts that he was truly interested in and felt passionate about. Even though he stopped working in Hollywood, his impact did not go away. Instead, it gave Gere the chance to play deeper parts and show how good he is as an actor without the stress of fame. Gere continued to be a financial and critical hit, making $170 million around the world. With movies like Chicago 2002, in which he played a man involved in a murder case, Richard Gere kept up his reputation as a stylish and skilled actor. An actor like Richard Gere has always had a public life that gets as much attention as his work. His love life, family, personal life, and ties in general. When Richard Gere married beauty Cindy Crawford in 1991, he became the first famous person to get married. These two became the face of a beautiful Hollywood pair at that time, which brought them a lot of attention. But even though they looked great together, their marriage didn't last long. After 4 years of living together, it ended in 1995. Their different ways of life and the stress of fame made the relationship tense, which led to the breakup. Gerard found love again after his first marriage and married actress Carrie Lowell in 2002. Two people were together for 11 years and had a son together in 2000, named Homer James Jigme. But Richard's second marriage did not last, and after a long breakup, it ended in 2013. The divorce process took almost 4 years and was finally finalized in 2016. Richard Gere got married for the third time to Spanish feminist Alejandra Silva in 2018. He had been looking for peace in his life for a while. There was a 33-year age gap between them, but they were deeply in love and happy together. Silva once said that it was a true story and that they felt very connected to it. Richard Gere's personal life has changed a lot since he became a dad. Gere felt closer to and more responsible for his family after having his first son with Carrie Lowell. Has changed a lot about his life, especially when it comes to his career decisions. Gere always tries to do his job in a way that doesn't take away from his time with his kids. So he can spend more time with his family, he turns down parts or film sets that are too far away. Richard has had 2 more kids since he married Alejandra Silva. Alexander in February 2019, and James in April 2020. Gere is now a dedicated dad who always puts his family first, especially now that he has more kids. He's been honest about the fact that the needs of his family often affect his work choices these days. This shows how mature he is and how much he wants to be a devoted father. Gere is also the dad of the children of his ex-wives. Aside from being the father of Lowell's daughter Hannah from a former relationship, he was also the stepfather of Lowell's son Homer. Gere has said that being a stepfather helped him get over his worries and fears about becoming a real dad. Gere became a dad to Sylvia's son Albert after they got married. Albert was her son from a previous marriage. Not only does Gere value being a biological dad, but he also sees taking care of and loving his wife's kids as an important part of family life. Richard Gere had a great acting career and a famous life in Hollywood. He also found a deep spiritual path and became a well-known figure in social groups' spiritual journey. In the 1970s, the actor first learned about Eastern religions and cultures, especially Buddhism. This was the start of his trip. Gere changed how he thought about and acted in life. This made his personal life better and made him a strong voice for human rights and Tibetan culture protection. Early 1980s, Gere went on a trip to Nepal and India. There, he met Tibetan monks who taught him about Buddhism. This trip was the start of a big change in his life. Meeting the Dalai Lama and becoming a Zen Buddhist in the 1980s totally changed his spiritual life. He says that the moment he met the Dalai Lama, he felt a strong bond with him and knew that he had found his way. Gere turned into a Gelugpa Tibetan Buddhist and started meditating regularly. He sees it as an important part of his life. My mind is very clear on the idea that I have always meditated and never stopped. Buddhism, with its teachings on kindness and freedom from pain, has given him a lot of inspiration and is now an important part of his daily life. Gere has always said that spirituality and meditation help him be at peace with himself and enjoy life, especially when things are hard. Since the 1980s, Richard Gere has worked hard to protect Tibetan rights and stop Chinese abuse. In 1987, he helped start Tibet House US, a group whose goal is to protect Tibetan culture and traditions. During 1992, he joined the International Campaign for Tibet. In 1995, he was made chairman of the board of directors for the group. Not only has Gere campaigned and collected money, but he has also spoken out against the Chinese government in public on important occasions. One of the most important things that happened to him was when he spoke out against China's abuses of human rights at the 1993 Academy Awards. There was a lot of disagreement about this move. Because of this, Gere wasn't allowed to go to the Academy Awards for a long time. But these things didn't make him less dedicated to the fight for human rights. Gere has spoken at a lot of foreign events, such as the UN Human Rights Committee and the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Besides focusing on the Tibet problem, Richard Gere has also expanded his humanitarian work to other places. He started the Gere Foundation, a nonprofit that helps people in need and defends human rights, because he saw the world as a whole. One of the foundation's main goals is to protect Tibetan culture and bring attention to the plight of Tibetans living under Chinese rule. In addition, Gere's foundation gives money to foreign groups like Amnesty Foreign. Organizations like Doctors Without Borders and the International Red Cross help poor communities all over the world by giving them emergency aid and support. He is especially interested in things like HIV/AIDS, public health, and human rights projects around the world. One of the most important things he did was pay for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to visit the United States. This helped people all over the world learn more about the Tibetan problem. Gere also helped communities that were hit by war and natural disasters and took part in emergency rescue work. Thanks to his trips to war-torn areas, Gere realized that something needed to be done to make the lives of the poor and violent victims better. Gere has always made it clear that his work in social work is not just a job for him, but also a part of his Buddhist practice. He says, "The only way to actively get rid of the dangerous idea of ego is to use your energy to help other people." In order to help these underprivileged groups, he is a leader in the ecology and human rights movements. Through the international campaign for Tibet, Gere has kept up his work over the past few years to protect Tibetan culture and fight for human rights. In order to bring attention to these problems, he also regularly takes part in foreign conferences and media campaigns. He is now focusing on protecting the rights of religious freedom and racial minorities, showing that he is still dedicated to working for good causes around the world. Richard Gere's social activity and spiritual journey have made him look very different from the average Hollywood star. Problems with health and the years that followed. Richard Gere's wife Alejandra turned 40 in February 2023, so he took her and their family on what looked like a fun trip to Nuevo Vallarta, Mexico. But the trip went in a different direction than planned. When Gere was in the hospital with major health problems, fans and the media both talked about how hard it was for Gere to deal with things at age 75. It all began when Richard Gere got a cough that wouldn't go away while they were on the trip. The person and their family thought it was just a cold at first, but it got worse. Gere was taken to La Jolla Hospital in Mexico and was told he had pneumonia. The most interesting thing about his illness is that it touched not only him, but also his family. His oldest son Alexander and his youngest son James both had asthma. His wife Alejandra and his oldest son Alexander both had sinusitis and ear infections. Doctors at the hospital took great care of Richard Gere and helped him get better fast. Many people felt less worried after seeing regular posts on social media telling fans that the worst is over. Gere was later let out of the hospital and continued to get better at home. Gere is 75 years old and is starting to go through the changes that come with getting older. A few weeks ago, he said that getting older is a normal process that we can't stop. It will drive you crazy to try to stop getting older. He said that time could not be stopped. Gere didn't worry about how he looked getting older. Instead, he was cool and wise about it. In his personal life, this was clear when he had another child between the ages of 70 and 71. Gere had a new view on getting older after becoming a father late in life. It made him care more about family ideals and his relationship with his children. While having health problems, Gere continued to take part in family events with devotion and hard work. A few months ago, Gere played a retired documentary filmmaker in the independent picture O Canada. Not only did this part touch on Gere's personal feelings, but it also showed how he felt about getting older and his memories of his father, who died just before filming began. It's a brave step to look into mental and emotional problems, especially how getting older and losing memories affects people. Gere talked about the part and said that playing a character broadens your views and lets you explore a different world. Gere's work isn't just about showing how the character feels. It's also a journey of self-discovery for him. Some confusing parts of the movie are a lot like his own thoughts on life, acceptance, and understanding of the changes that come with getting older. Even though his health and getting older are causing him problems, Richard Gere is still trying to become an actor and taking on challenging high-end film projects. He is able to set his own hours and still spend time with his family because he works on independent projects. Gere has kept up his creativity and love of art by choosing parts that fit his mood and feelings. This also gives him a chance to share his thoughts on life, getting older, and the intangible values that we all face along the way. What Richard Gere did, he was a famous actor and social leader whose work pushed for deep human values. Unlike other actors, he left a mark on Hollywood by combining art and social issues. This is one of the few Hollywood stars whose job matches his morals. He quit his job to fight for human rights instead of making money. The time he spoke out against China's human rights record at the Oscars in 1993 changed his life. He was then banned from Hollywood. Because Chinese investors controlled the American film business, he was left out of a number of important movies. Even though these things went wrong, Gere stayed positive. This failure led to a new wave of creativity. He had more success in independent films, like Arbitrage, which got him a Golden Globe nod. I keep making the same movies I did at the beginning. Short, interesting stories that are centered on the characters and the plot. Gere talked about how he had changed. Gere was able to be himself and improve his acting skills in this scene. In addition to his work in movies, Gere has helped with charity projects around the world. The Gere Foundation, which he started in 1991, shows how much he cares about helping people. It has helped fund projects for health, human rights, and the environment. He works with both Indian and foreign groups to help weak people and raise awareness about AIDS and improve healthcare in India. He fights for human rights and is best known for his work in the World Campaign for Tibet. He has been in charge of the group since 1995 and has spoken out on the UN and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, among other places. Through his work, Gere has brought attention to Tibet's human rights problems and made more people aware of them. The Eleanor Roosevelt and CARE Charity Awards are for his work. Gere's worries about politics and society have hurt his movie business, but it's clear that he has had a big impact on culture. People in India changed how they thought about HIV/AIDS after his Project Hero campaign in 2002. Gere has also fought for the rights of refugees and for disaster aid. Gere proved that you don't have to look like you belong in Hollywood to be a star. He has fought for his views even though he has faced a lot of opposition. One example is the ending of an independent film because China scared the director after Gere spoke out against Tibet. Gere stuck to his goals and said that the movie was well received, even though he got calls asking him not to talk about it with the press. In the entertainment business, Gere shows how to fight for social justice and artistic purity. Gere's rise from fame in the 1980s to acclaimed actor in independent films and humanitarian is a great example of how creative success can be combined with social duty. "I never did anything for money," he said. "I work hard on the picture even if I don't think it will work." What do you think about Richard Gere's work and what he has done for society? Do you think that what he did has changed how people think about celebs' jobs to support social causes and protect human rights? Please tell us what you think in the space below.